Welcome, Tangle friends. Can you believe it? We made it finally after months and months of grueling work. We have landed in our dream home in Austria, which is this little cottage back here. We are enjoying it immensely. And even though we don't have our things from the United States yet, we're still having the greatest time. My dog is right here with me. She's been heading over to the beehive that is about 25 feet away, kind of scaring me because I don't want her eating bees. She's not afraid of anything. I am blown away by our surroundings, by our incredible wildflowers everywhere, and the greens in these deciduous forests that are just like electrifying. Let me pick my camera up and see if you can see some of that. Look at the hillside behind me. Look at that green. Isn't that amazing? We are so lucky to be here, and I'm just bursting with creativity. Can't wait to show you some more tangles. And today we're going to get started with Hollyhock. Hollyhock is a beautiful leaf tangle by Jason Lau, CZT. And I'm going to change it up a little bit, add some line work, and shade it on a colored background, which is going to be, guess what? Green. So since we have not received our shipment of goods, our container with all of our personal belongings yet, we have limitations with things like my art supplies. So I'm going to be taking up the challenge that is, there is beauty in limitation, right? That's what Rick Roberts always says. And I'm going to work with that concept until our stuff comes. So today we're going to keep it simple but beautiful, and I look forward to sharing Hollyhock with you now. Okay, so we're going to start our Hollyhock by looking first at the step out on my tangle tag. And as you can see, this is by Jason Lau, and his step out is a little bit different than what we're going to do today. His is quite a bit simpler with this first stroke that we're going to make more into a muka-like shape, which I can show you here. More like this, right? Or like this. Instead of just the one stroke, we're going to like beef it up a little bit. So that is one change. The other thing that we're going to do is, rather than either make it a positive negative space or shade, we're going to do some line work to bring out that shading. So like I told you in my intro, I had originally designed this for a class in October, or a demo, and didn't get to it. So I was working up some coloring on that. And so here's another example. And here's another example of what you can do with a yin and yang, almost like a cruffle shape in there, and then add your tangle in there. In this case, I did not use ink. I only used pencil to pencil it out and then color it so that it's a little bit more subtle. So we're going to do something more like this on the green. And to keep it simple, we're going to just use our line work straight up and down throughout the whole pattern. You can see I was trying some different things out here. For example, I actually kind of went around almost like an aura line all the way around in the spaces. Here I did some sort of aura lines this way, but then I did a directional change under the mucas. On this one, I didn't even ink out the outside or the negative space, but rather only the petals. That's an option. And then here's another example that you could be inspired by. But we're going to keep it simple today and just do straight up and down lines. I've got this tile that I created with Lindaysmagicalshakers, and I've got my PN pen, and that's it. Other than that, we're going to be using some colored pencils for shading, and we won't even need a graphite pencil because I do not shade with graphite on top of color. But let's get to that when we get there. I will be blending, however, with my Copic colorless blender. All right, here's how Hollyhock goes. I'm just going to start down here in the corner. Making it nice and big so you can see. And then I'm just going to take off from here. And we're going to do that kind of spade shape. And it kind of works for me. You can start up here and draw your spade shape. Kind of works for me to go from the bottom so I can see where I'm going. I guess it's a leaf shape. I think of the spade and cards. And then we're just going to aura that line. And then we're going to make a floret, is what I'm calling it. Start at the bottom and go to the top like that, arcing a little bit so we have another leaf or petal shape. And then starting always at the bottom, we're going to fill out this space with petals. Just letting this line guide you. And I like to just do one last one that kind of bows into the center. You could keep going if you wanted to, but I want to save some space for our line work. And now we're going to just add some hatching, basically, and we're just going to go straight up and down. You can follow it through all the way, or you can do it in sections. I actually kind of like to do it in sections. So get all of this section done. Try to imagine the lines lining up a little bit. I don't think it's super important. Depending on how much shading you want. As you can see here, it's gotten a little bit further apart, and here it's more dense. And that's a way to emphasize where it's darker, to have more dense lines. I didn't do that on purpose. I'm just demoing, so I wasn't really paying attention. But I think I like having them a little bit further apart, just because that way you can see the beautiful green in between. And then I like to go into the petals and make some line work. When you get down to these really tiny ones, you could get your 01 pen out, if you keep your PN, you want to be sure to have a really light touch and kind of do an eyelash stroke. So that's our first hollyhock. Now I'm going to do a couple more just so you can see. Let's do one from this direction. Pretend it's going up here. And it's okay if it goes off the paper. It's fine that it's smaller. I think it's kind of a fun look to have different sizes. And then we start off with our floret. I didn't quite go a point here because it would have been up here further. But now we can go all the way to the line with a point. And then once again our line work. This time I didn't go quite so close. But you see how much more shaded that looks down there because of the tightness of the line work. And this is just another look. You could leave it like that. You could make this completely dark, all kinds of different things. But I'm going to keep it the same just for our demo purpose. But play around with that negative space. I'm back at Ingrid's. We're still having technical difficulties up on the mountain. We do have internet, but the speed is so slow. I can't upload things that are large and download things that have larger file sizes. So I'm back here with our familiar clock ticking, and I'm going to have to figure something out for my demos. Could it be the universe telling me to stop? Let me know in the comments. Okay, one more time. We're going to do our line work. To make it full bleed, and if you were to continue tangling and making more tangles in between here, filling it all up, that would be pretty too. So let's stop there and let's get out our pencils. These are all I have with me in the greens that I can use, and there's a yellow in there that could possibly work. Actually, that's a cadmium yellow. This is more of a canary yellow. I think I'm going to switch that out. And always, always, always keep your pencils sharp. And I noticed this one is not. So here I have a little hand sharpener because I just don't have my materials, my tools yet, my anything. So like I always say, I learned as a botanical illustrator to either grisaille things, meaning you shade your white paper with gray or graphite or French gray, and you go over the top with layers and layers of colored pencil. Or if you start with a color background, I would not put graphite on top of this. It just will look really dark and dingy. So I'm going to try to take a color that is a little bit darker than the one here and start my shading. This one seems to work. This one happens to be like lime peel. Would shade a little bit behind each of these petals underneath and inside the second aura. Now I'm going to make this a little bit more three-dimensional. I'm also going to add a little bit of shading down here and then bring some up in the midrib a little. And then if you see, we have grass green and we have this kind of more of a blue green. Let's see, this one's called dark green. And I think I want this a little more dramatic. And it doesn't matter that this exact green is not in there because we went over the lime peel. But it certainly looks a little bit more dramatic and it's not that muddy gray. So I'm going right over the top of that lime peel just to get some more depth in here. I can even blend it a little bit here with my yellow. And that's beautiful. See, there's so much yellow here. I like to bring in some of those colors into the other sections that don't really have it. But look how that is kind of more coordinated, even on the stem. It'd be nice to have a little yellow there and some dark on the side. I need to do my lime peel again here. Forgot to do this part. Look how much more dramatic and beautiful that is, more rich. I'm going to put some of that green. This is now the grass green, just to see what it does. It's a little brighter, which we could use on this one here. I'm going to stick to the darker green on this one because I started it that way. Just keep working it and working it until you get what you want. What you do want to be careful with in color pencil layering is if you get too many layers on, you get this wax bloom and this buildup of your colors, and then you can't add any more at a certain point. I am way not there, but I've seen that sometimes where people have asked me, why is my color not taking any more? And it's because you've got too many layers on. Too much is not a good thing. I'm just going to blend this out with my colorless blender. It's kind of a hard line that I don't like. Staying away from the really dark line so it doesn't smear. And I'm not liking that, so I'm going to let it dry a little bit, but I will fix it. So I'm going to go over here now. This definitely needs to start out with some darker. I think I'm going to start out with the grass green over here. Since this leaf is on top of this one, we have a little bit of a drop shadow here. Can't believe when I left, Colorado, I gave my daughter a bunch of my colored pencils, and I accidentally left my white colored pencil with her. So all I have is my General's white charcoal, which is making me very sad. I might actually have to go to an art store and get a white colored pencil. See how bringing that little bit of grass green in here with the yellow added a touch of blue, and I'm going to put some on here as well. Just very little bit makes a nice statement. This slate needs a little bit of yellow. Now we can add some of the darker green. Oops, I'm on this one. See how we can get really nice and dark in these crevices. And this leaf could use a little bit of, let's try first with the chartreuse. And then we could go on top a little bit with yellow. Chartreuse is a little more subtle than the yellow. Just hit it up here and there. Let's see what happens with the yellow. See how that yellow just picks things up. I'm even going to shade a little bit around the stem. A little bit more here. To get that overlap. See how the lighter burnishes that green? That means it's blending it and mixing it. So I don't even really need my colorless blender for that. I definitely need to do the same thing down here. Get it some. This one's a little bit darker in its color, background color, so I'm going to go right on it with the dark green. And if you were working just with white paper, this is where your graphite would go. Same concept. Really dark down here so that that beautiful blossom gets lifted forward like almost like on a gold pendant. These would be the undercuts. Notice how I just went down here, and why is that? Because I'm always looking everywhere. I don't necessarily always just concentrate on the thing that I am shading. While I'm shading, I'm looking where else I should be going with that color on my piece. I'm going to take the chartreuse to blend that a little and add some in here so that we get that coordination. Lead your eye around the paper. I don't even really need the Splendor blender or the solvent blender because the lighter color is doing a great job. You can work and finesse this for as long as you want. I could shade all day long. I am going to try to bring up some highlights, however, with my General's white charcoal. It doesn't really go great on top of waxy colored pencils, which I use Prisma for, and as a result, they're really waxy, much more so than the oil-based Faber-Castell. So I'm pushing really hard, and it's still not doing much of anything, but it's giving me a little bit of light here and there. I could have left a little bit more untouched by the colored pencils, and then that white would show up. Colored pencil would work perfectly, which I don't have, yay! I'll come back to this and fix it up when I get one. But I think we can call that finished. Don't forget to put your chop, turn your tile this way and that. Decide how you want people to view it. I think I like it like this. I'm going to put my chop here. And I will sign and date the back. And I'm going to write on there my first post from Austria. So I hope you liked this project and give it a thumbs up if you did. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got to get back on this and really get going. So I need to know what you like, and it helps me when you tell me. Thanks for joining me today. I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now. That's it for today's Tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled or to purchase my Tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle Alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle.